ball is life, plain and simple. Ask any baller. If you know, you know.
The game has changed, but it's still the same. You want it, go get it.
Shazam! The inbounds pass comes into Jordan. Here's Michael at the foul line. The shot on Elo. The Bulls win! They win it!
Mike, you're honestly telling me that you're top 5.
Yeah.
Top 5 of all time.
No question about it.
Booker, this is for the win. Got it! Wow!
Yo.
The ruling on the floor is made basket.
One thing's for sure. Over at Valley Sports Plug, you're never going to catch us slipping.
With the first overall pick, the Phoenix Suns select
3, 2, 1, yeah!
Welcome back to Pass the Outlet, episode 25. I'm your host, Michael Benjamin, joined as always by my wingman, Christopher Patrick. Chris, how you doing tonight, my brother?
Doing good, Mike. It is March. It is the purest month of basketball we get in the entire year. The NBA playoff push is heating up. Of course, March Madness. And I just got back out there and played this last Sunday, so I'm feeling basketball right now. Really excited to talk about it.
Feeling good, feeling great. And ladies and gentlemen, it's that time of year once again. The third annual. Oh, hold on one second. I think this is what happened to Chris the other day too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Okay, I'm glad it's not just me. I thought it was just because you weren't here guiding the show.
No, but we're doing the third annual Phoenix Suns ticket giveaway. It's right around the corner. We're giving away 2 tickets to the Phoenix Suns versus Houston Rockets game in downtown Phoenix on Sunday, March 30th. Section 109, row 11. Some pretty nice seats. But just an FYI, the post will go live on Thursday, March 20th. So make sure you got to do 3 things. You got to subscribe to us here on Valley Sports Plug YouTube. You got to follow us on X this time at AZ_VSP. You got to make sure to like the post and tag who you would bring to the game. And the winner will be drawn on Friday, March 28th. Just something that we like to do every year to give back to you guys because we're so appreciative of everyone who joins us here on Pass the Outlet, where, of course, we talk about the beautiful game of basketball. And if you're watching live, watching the playback, or listening on podcast streaming services, we love y'all. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us at AZ_VSP on all socials. But ladies and gentlemen, as Chris already stated, March has arrived. Alabama State just won on a full court pass layup with 0.7 seconds left to secure the 16th seed. North Carolina is currently spanking San Diego State. And we're going to switch it up a bit today. We're going to fill out our 2025 NCAA men's tournament bracket live for the Outlet Point Guard today. And then obviously we'll see what Chris is bringing in the news for Reddit Reacts. But before all that, we have to bring on our very special guest. Some would call him the hometown college basketball wizard. You know him. You love him. It's Stephen Miller. Stephen, how you doing tonight?
How are we doing, fellas? I was hoping in the intro you would also mention current defending trivia champ, half of the team that dethroned you guys a couple of weeks ago. So really, really thrilled to be here. Thank you. It is the best time of the year. I've got my Jayhawk gear. I've got my bracket up. I've got the UNC game on. I'm ready.
Well, Stephen, yes, you are the defending champion. I'm just trying to move forward and move on, and I know that matchup is coming next month once again, so I'm excited to take on you and your brother again. But let's get right into it. I got to ask you right off the bat, give us a rundown on why you love college basketball so much, man.
So, I mean, I know, here on Pass the Outlet, you guys know ball. The beautiful thing about college basketball is that it is a perfectly imperfect game. So you are seeing players who are truly playing for the love of the game. And I know with NIL now, money has kind of entered. It was always there in college ball, kind of under the table. It's now been brought to the light. I think that's a great thing. Gets kind of a lot of the seediness out of the sport. But it is in March, it's chaos. Like there's a reason they call it March Madness. Anything can happen. Anyone we have seen in recent years, anyone can have a hot night. Anyone can have an off night. And the beautiful part about filling out a bracket is that no one gets it right. We don't know what's going to happen. There are 3 weeks, 4 weeks of basketball on at all hours of the day. We're going to see new heroes get made. We're going to see kids who are playing on the biggest stage, and this is it for them. You know, there's a lot of guys who this is the highlight of their career, is being a Cinderella and taking a team deep into the tourney. So I love it. I've filled out a bracket for as long as I've been able to write my name. I've never gotten anywhere close to a perfect bracket. I just recently, in recent years, had to abandon. I would always just take Kansas to the end. I would just always take Kansas national champ. I have since, in my old age, grown soft, grown wiser, and I actually now do a little bit more research and pick who I think the best team is. So excited to get into it with you guys. Excited to fill out the bracket. I've got a snippet for each team, so I'm going to be dropping trivia throughout the pod. And yeah, thanks again for having me.
Man, Steven, I'm excited to have you on here. Kind of surprised that you're not taking Kansas, to be honest. I'm curious to see in your bracket just how far you have them going. But you do know here at Pass the Outlet, a lot of our discussions focus on the NBA since it's the brand we follow the most. What differences between college and the NBA highlight your passion for college basketball and really stick out to you?
So yeah, I mean, they really are two different games. And you see this also, I mean, it's kind of similar to what the difference between college football and the NFL. You know, at the pro level, players are bigger, stronger, faster, you know, more, I'm not going to say better coached, but there's, you know, you've got an entire coaching staff. You've got players are taking nutrition a lot more seriously. So, you know, you're really seeing the game at the peak of performance. In college, there's a lot more randomness. You know, guys haven't refined those skills. You know, free throws are like the most important thing in close games in March. Free throws are not by any means free. You're going to see guys who are shooting 60, 70%. With the game on the line, you're going to see the nerves and you're going to see games get decided. It because of all of those kind of chaos variables, it just leads to a more unpredictable, I personally think more exciting form of the game. Don't get me wrong. You know, I love seeing the game played at the pro level. It's really, you know, one of the most fun parts of being a college basketball fan is then having your favorite guys and then seeing them make the leap and see how they adjust. I have notoriously been an awful evaluator of if a player is decent in college and is going to make the leap. I wanted to throw a parade when the Suns drafted Josh Jackson out of Kansas. And look how that played out, okay? One of the more disastrous recent Suns picks. But we've been blessed to have a couple of Jayhawks over the years. My boys, the Morris twins, you know, they were Suns for a while. Marcus Morris has actually been calling games. You'll see him pop up in March. I think he's working for CBS, doing some on air, getting those chops. So yeah, I think, you know, again, the March Madness element, the chaos, and again, just the heart that guys are showing. It's a more pure form of the sport.
Gosh, Josh Jackson, you had to bring him up. Hopefully the Suns aren't heading back to those days. But Steven, obviously we know you have your loyalties. The Miller brothers are synonymous as being Arizona State experts here on Valley Sports Plug. But, I mean, we see it on your shirt. But some might not know that you're a diehard, what would they say, Rock Chalk Kansas Jayhawk fan. So remind the people, how did that fandom come about for you again?
So the Miller family has deep roots in Kansas. Our parents grew up in Kansas City, Overland Park specifically. My mom, Mimi, went to KU, and Kansas basketball is a cult. Like there's no other way around it. It is where the game originated. Dr. James Naismith was working at a YMCA in Kansas when he put 2 peach baskets up and taught a bunch of boys who were a little rowdy, and he was trying to get them to burn off some energy, taught them this game. The rules, the written rules of basketball are on display at Allen Fieldhouse on campus. So it is, a lot of people say New York is the basketball mecca. I think they have an argument, but basketball itself was created in Kansas, and I think it's been perfected in Kansas. Kansas fans have very, very high expectations. It's championship or bust. We have been very fortunate in recent years. Bill Self has a lifetime contract from the university. Every 5 years, if he decides to continue coaching, and I hope he continues coaching for the rest of his life, because he is the best thing to ever happen to Kansas basketball, minus Mr. Naismith himself. And every 5 years, he gets re-upped to be the highest paid coach in the sport. That is how committed the university is to him. He's brought them 2 national championships. I am heartbroken to say that we will not see another one this year. It has been a very dysfunctional, very, very unfortunate year. We are limping into the tournament at a 7 seed. It is after the curse of the number 1 preseason struck us. So we were the number 1 overall, really strong transfer class that came in. We have since entered March Madness unranked, so not in the top 25. That in Lawrence right now is a call for disaster. Kansas does not respond well. The fan base does not like being unranked. So yeah, we'll get into that when we get to the bracket. But yeah, I bleed blue and red. I always say my team is Kansas, my school is ASU. There is a big difference. But yeah, so Ben and I, we like to give each other a hard time. ASU in recent years has had Kansas's number and has upset them a number of times, both in Tempe and in Lawrence. And so it's a fun one in the Miller house when those 2 teams meet.
Oh, I bet. And it makes sense. I mean, Kansas, obviously, perennial tournament participation and always top of the class in basketball teams and prospects and everything. So it never hurts when you got a fun, good team to watch. But while we're talking about Kansas, I want to also talk about the Big 12. It was a solid championship game, seeing Houston top Arizona late in the second half. Stephen, what are your overall thoughts from the championship game and the first season for the new Big 12?
I love it. I mean, as you can imagine, I was thrilled when I saw the way conference realignment shook out, and to see Arizona State and U of A join the Big 12, because it was just like, marrying this team that is our hometown team, and giving them an excuse to play all of these Midwest greats. I think it's been eye-opening watching this season through the lens of a ASU team coming and playing a lot of these more traditional powerhouse programs. There are no off nights in the Big 12. And I think I mentioned this on a previous pod, Manhattan, Kansas, where Kansas State plays. There's no pros there. There's no, not even minor league baseball. There's nothing. There is just the college and the devoted fans that go and show up to that game. So you have, very smaller arenas that get packed. They will sell out. They will show up whether or not the team is any good. And you will just, you got just these rabid fan bases that honestly, the Pac-10, the Pac-12 just never really had. So I think it's been, a huge success. I think it's elevated the level of play. I think it's brought in some of these newcomers in addition to ASU and U of A. BYU is a newcomer to the conference. They had a great year. I like them to make some noise here in March. You've got, Houston also relatively new to the conference. They kind of have risen to the top. Probably the team, of all the Big 12 teams that made it in, probably the team with the best national title hopes. So we'll talk a little bit about them. I'm thrilled. It's heartbreaking though, because going into the bracket this year, all the talk is about the SEC. So Win Selection Sunday came out. A record 14 SEC teams have made the tournament. That is, I believe, 2 more than the previous record. So people are saying this is the best conference that we've seen in the last 20 years. And some pretty mediocre SEC teams were able to sneak in on the strength of that brand. So, a lot of pushback thinking this Texas team really shouldn't have been even in the play-in. And look, I think we just had my other half on the trivia side has weighed in. It is possible we could have an SEC Final Four, which would frankly be nuts. Obviously have not seen that before. So I think Big 12 traditionally has been kind of the best conference. I think the SEC is clearly a little bit stronger this year, but I do think it's where, you've got pretty much championship or bust expectations at a number of those schools.
Yeah, I mean, the cream of the crop definitely rose in that Big 12 championship with Houston too. I can't wait to hear your thoughts in regards to what they possibly can do in this tournament. But of course, Stephen, we got to touch on ASU just a little bit. You did give some last kind of final thoughts on the season last week on the VSP roundtable. So make sure you guys check that back out as well. But technically it's not over, right? They're competing in the college basketball crown tournament, the new tournament in Las Vegas. But I don't want to talk about that, man. I have to talk about the rumor that 5-star prospect Koa Peat from Perry High in Chandler is looking to make his decision in April, it sounds like, probably after the All-American McDonald's game. And eyes are possibly on ASU. So I have to know, man, what can this type of player do for a program like ASU?
It would absolutely change things. And especially if Acquaintance comes back. I mean, that could be, we could have a Twin Towers-like situation that I think would immediately reverse ASU's misfortune in this past year. Now, it's in recent years, it hasn't necessarily been, just one player drastically changing the makeup of a team or their chance for success. You got to also work the portal. So Bobby does have his work cut out for him if Pete does decide to go, and I think that would be a huge get. Probably, I'm not exactly sure where Acquaintance ranked. I know he was toward the top of his recruiting class. I think Koa Pete might even be higher. And keep in mind, Bobby knows how to recruit. He's had some issues with keeping players in the program or keeping players eligible, but he can get guys in the door. He says the right things, and especially, having a player of Pete's caliber here in our backyard, it's a no-brainer. So Bobby really should have the inside track here. And I frankly, I think ASU kept him because of the closeness that he has and the relationship that he's developed with the family. So there's probably something to be said there that Bobby needs Koa to come to ASU if he's gonna fully get to live out being with the program long term. So it would totally change things. It would give ASU new life. I think it would probably convince a couple of guys who may be 1 foot out the door to stay and give the team a second chance. So I hope it happens. I think it would be a huge get. I want basketball to be fun in Tempe. Even though I love my Jayhawks, it is a lot easier to get to a game here in Tempe than it is to get to Lawrence. So would love to see ASU be able to roll out a Big 12 contender next year, and I think Pete could be a huge part of that.
Well, and Stephen, I think you touched on one of my other questions too, right? There was the rumors that they're really bringing back Bobby Hurley because of his relationship with Koa and probably the Peat family as a whole, right? There was some rumblings that, Koa was starting to lean away from ASU with the rumors that Hurley could be let go. So it sounds like there are some legs to this, but my kind of other question would be, say they do get Koa Peat and it's a tough season, ASU is kind of middling. They don't do well in the Big 12 again. Would you see that being kind of the last straw for Bobby Hurley with ASU, even though he was probably able to bring the biggest recruit in, the program's history to ASU?
Absolutely. College coaches, unfortunately, don't get a lot of time to work it out when things go south. Fan bases are fickle. There's a lot of money in the sport. There's a lot of boosters with high expectations. And we just saw it, blue chip programs do not have any patience. A down year could absolutely tank, even if you're a Hall of Fame historically good coach. Coach John Calipari, who I can't stand, but I respect his body of work. Coached at, he was former Memphis, was at Kentucky for years, won a national championship there. He was run out of town last season, and he had brought Kentucky consistently. They're one of the blue bloods of the college basketball world. He was bringing them, to the tournament regularly with a shot at winning it all. You look at, just the number of Kentucky alums that are in the league that got there because of his mentorship. They had a down year. It wasn't necessarily a terrible year. They had a couple of surprising upsets in March that had embarrassed the program. People might remember St. Peter's, that run started with a Kentucky upset. The boosters had enough, and they sent him packing, and he went to an in-conference rival to kind of thumb his nose at the school because he got such kind of a bad deal. There was a very wealthy Arkansas booster who had oil money to burn and also kind of got involved there. And you see that happen a lot more. It happens in football too, kind of behind the scenes, but it definitely is there in basketball. So I think, the other one that comes to mind, NC State last year was one of the darlings of the tournament. You had both the men's and the women's team in the Final Four. It was one, I think, historic in terms of having success on both sides of the bracket. And Kevin Keats, they're not bringing him back this year. He had a mediocre, middling season. Kind of had that Final Four hangover, and they sent him packing, even though he just took the team to the Final Four last year unexpectedly. So I don't think it would surprise anyone to see Bobby get bounced. And I think ASU has a little bit of an itchy trigger finger here, having seen the success that Kenny brought to the program on the football side overnight. They brought in a guy who had close ties, was an alum, really immediately came in, spoke the language of the players. He's hyped up, they're hyped up. He's getting guys in the portal who want to come here and play. He's truly a young players coach. And I think the athletic department, seeing the success that ASU had with going to the playoff, I think they're probably going to look for someone, if they move on from Bobby, in that same mold. A younger guy, right now, the thing to do, like we're going to talk about BYU. BYU's head coach, Kevin Young, came from the Suns. He was an assistant coach who was kind of the coach in waiting, who wasn't getting his chance on the NBA side. He went and he's got a dominant program this year that have found immediate success in BYU. So there are guys out there, in the league right now, who I think have something, it's not unheard of to see guys jump over and find success in the college program, especially when they're younger and they know how to get players in and keep them. Again, Bobby, I think there's so many factors that lead to a good year. You really need to have, good injury luck. You got to play teams at the right time. You got to get hot at the right time. So I don't necessarily fault all of ASU's rough year on Bobby. My biggest flaw in the last few years with Bobby has been the number of players that throughout the year run into some kind of issue and have like a weird dismissal from the team. This last year, their leading scorer under strange circumstances was kicked off the team. That to me is like, you do not have control of your program. So that is the biggest red flag. You need to keep guys eligible. You still have to respect the fact that they're student athletes. You have to play the game within the game and keep guys on the floor. And Bobby has not shown that he's able to consistently do that. That, I think, could be the nail in the coffin if we have another year where something behind the scenes leads to a star player or two not making it through the full season.
Yeah, and in a lot of ways, this really is almost like, you don't really hear about this term too much for coaches, but like a prove it year for Bobby Hurley is, can he legitimately run this organization, if you will, or this school and this team and get it to where it needs to be, and what was promised nearly a decade ago when we brought him on. But luckily, Stephen, we talked about this a little bit last week on our roundtable. If we follow the Hurley pattern for his ASU basketball teams, I think it was 2 bad years and then 1 good year. And on that calendar, this next year is supposed to be the good year. So I'm very much looking forward to that. I want Bobby to do well. Despite my criticisms of his coaching style, I do want him to do well. But with that being said, I do want to bring it back to the now a little bit. From a high level, can you tell us your college basketball player of the year, why they stand above the rest, and why it's Cooper Flagg?
Yeah, I wasn't even going to try and bury the lead here. It is Cooper Flagg. There is no doubt. He is the consensus #1 pick. He has been really on people's radars for quite some time. I think ever since LeBron, really, there is just an immense amount of hype that goes into the #1 pick each year. And because of the one and done rule that they instituted, that way back, I think it was. I think LeBron actually was one of the last high school players to go straight into the league. Guys have to do a year. Some go the LaMelo Ball route and go play, overseas. That's become viable. You now also have the G League Ignite, so there are options that aren't college that guys are exploring. But for the most part, we know typically that the #1 overall pick he's gonna spend a year somewhere. And Duke is just again one of those blue blood programs. This is, it's been a kind of an up and down year for them, especially with John Shire taking over for the legendary Coach K. They still have sky high expectations, even with, Shire stepping into those huge shoes. But Flagg has just really, he's elevated his game throughout the season. And that's really kind of what you want from your player of the year. You want to watch him grow and you want to see him, really continuing to refine his skill set, because again, these are kids, these are 17, 18, 19 year olds. Flagg is actually, he reclassified. So he's very young for his age. He's barely going to make the age cutoff to be eligible to enter the draft after the season's over. Jaden Quaintance, is one of, I think, the other youngest players who reclassified, came to school early. He's just 17. He will have to come back another year. We hope that's at ASU. But yeah, Flagg has been on a lot of radars ever since during the lead up to the Paris Olympics. He was a part of the select team, the practice squad that went and played against the NBA stars, who went and got gold. And there were multiple reports from people close to USA Basketball and players themselves after the Olympics were over who said that there were times where Flagg was the best player on the practice court, and he was playing against the best of American NBA players. So that vote of confidence from the pros and from the scouts and from USA Basketball, that got people real hyped for this year. And Flagg lived up to it, which isn't always a guarantee. So it's not a foregone conclusion that the player of the year is immediately going to be the #1 pick. It's just like in college football, the Heisman doesn't necessarily, make for the best pro or make for the consensus overall top pro. But in this year, there's no contention. It is Cooper Flagg. I think the saying right now, as we're in the final kind of 10 or so games of the NBA season for teams, they're calling it capture the flag. So if you are trotting out your bench and looking to try and lose, just like the Raptors did last night against the Suns, then yeah, you could say that they are in contention for Flagg, because he really could turn around the fortunes of whatever franchise picks him up. He is a versatile player. He plays kind of multiple positions. He stuffs the stat sheet. He has, a defensive intensity that we really haven't seen since Anthony Davis days. He also, you kind of to bring it a little bit closer, he resembles Chet Holmgren in a lot of ways. There are injury concerns. Flagg is hurt right now. He appears to, x-rays have come back and look to be okay. They are going, a player who is about to go have this big payday and is clearly going to be in the league. He and his camp are going to take it safe. The rumor is that Duke will sit him likely for the first weekend. Hope to get through their first 2 games as a 1 seed. The 16 seeds typically don't put up much of a fight. We've only seen 2 that have ever, knocked off the 1 seed, which, is 2 more than we had seen for a long time. So it is not, assumed that Duke will be in the Sweet 16, but it is very much looking likely, and he'll make his appearance then. So, but yeah, I think, there were also, players around the league. Like, it was just a really good year of college basketball. Janai Broom out in Auburn, he got them to a number 1 seed. The committee's overall team, although they kind of faltered at the end and did not end up winning the SEC conference championship like many assumed that they would. But he had a phenomenal year too, and he will also, be a lottery pick, and it has, I think, a bright future ahead of him. My boy, just because I see him here on the graphic, Hunter Dickinson, a former Michigan transfer who came to Kansas, came to win a national championship. His Wolverines have a better seeding in the tournament than Kansas, so it kind of backfired on him. But he's a 7-footer. He's got a great shot. It was actually very surprising to see him come back this year. Kind of disappointing that he came back for a pretty mediocre year by Kansas standards. But yeah, there's there's a lot of these, the top teams that you see, they have a guy. You're in order to win in college ball, it's just like in the pros. You got to have that number 1 go-to option who is going to have the ball in his hands when it comes down to crunch time. And I'm excited to run through this bracket and point out some of them because there's just a very, very high level of talent in this year's tournament.
Yeah, Steven, I'm surprised it wasn't absolutely Hunter Dickinson, my Kansas guy. No, Cooper Flagg is one of those guys who I think the transition to the NBA is going to be absolutely seamless. Now he's going to be playing for a bad team, but I wouldn't be surprised by year 2. We're talking about him in the All-Star game and starting to talk about him on all NBA teams. But yes, Steven, it's right around the corner, the bracket challenge. We're going to fill out a bracket, but I got one more question for you before we do it. I got to know, just give us 1 or 2 Cinderellas that might be able to make an absolutely improbable Final Four run. I know you've done the research, so give it to us.
Are there any Jack Golkeys this year as well?
There are certainly some Jack Golkeys. There are a few teams of Jack Golkeys. It is live or die by the 3. I think if that Oakland team and St. Peter's before them and UMBC before them, there is a blueprint for how to knock off a bigger, faster, stronger, all-around better team if you are one of these mid-major darlings. And you really just have to shoot the lights out. You have to go in there. You have to put up shots. You got to play. You either have to play at an alarmingly fast tempo and create more possessions, create chaos, create turnovers, and win the turnover battle, or you have to play at a frustratingly slow pace. But you have to throw a team off by almost throwing a gimmick at them. And you're going to see, fortunately, a lot of the Cinderellas that I like this year, they play exciting, fun basketball. So you're going to want to tune into the games. The joke for years, there's a reason Virginia was susceptible to being the first number 1 to ever lose to a 16 seed. And that's because they played just a really boring, it's like their version of basketball was like watching paint dry. I mean, just not a fun entertainment value to it. And UMBC came in, they got hot one night, and they really, they won that game without much of a contest. And we've seen that actually, Fairleigh Dickinson knocking off Purdue. Same kind of thing. They came in and they showed up and they just had a better night, Zach Edey was the consensus player of the year on that team. Fairleigh Dickinson didn't mind having a 7-foot center. None of those guys were even close in size to him, but they could shoot and they moved the ball. And I think that blueprint, there's a lot of teams, that are going to be in those double-digit seeds that they know their history, they've studied, and they know that if they have a hot night, anything can happen. So to answer your question, there's a few that are kind of the college basketball world consensus picks, and then there's a few that I like. One of the ones that I'm going to go with the crazies that, and I'm going to drink the Kool-Aid is UC San Diego. So this is a fun team. They've got, veteran leadership. It's always, you really want to see your Cinderellas have guys who have been with the program for a few years. They may not be familiar with playing on this stage, but they've played in big games before. UCSD definitely has that. This is a really fun one. They're playing a Michigan team that just won the Big Ten title. Unexpectedly, they were definitely not supposed to make that run. They beat some really good teams to get there. They played 4 games in 4 days though. And I don't care how well conditioned you are. Fatigue is a real problem, so these guys, they played Sunday, they were the last game that the committee was waiting on before they released the bracket. They knocked off Wisconsin in a game that like you could really see that players were just exhausted. The guys were just pooped by the end of that tournament final. So I think fatigue is a real challenge. And I think UCSD, because they play at a faster pace and jack up a lot of shots, I think they could run Michigan ragged if they come out and they play them with their style of ball. So it's their first time ever making the tournament. This was a team that just got promoted to D1. Okay, so you've got guys, they're going to be running on raw adrenaline. Okay, they totally could go out there and shoot the lights out and take down Michigan. Another fun one that I'm, there's a family tie there is Colorado State. They're one of my darlings. The old adage for bracket nerds is that practically every year a 12 beats a 5. You have to, when you're filling out your bracket, you just got to pick, okay, which matchup do I like the most? And Colorado State is it for me. You've got them. They're playing Memphis. Penny Hardaway as a 90s basketball aficionado, huge Penny Hardaway fan. Love what he's done with the Memphis program, but he's brought a lot of drama to it. They had a recruiting scandal with James Wiseman when he was there. He didn't finish the full year. He also, that kind of followed him. I think led to having a pretty rocky NBA career because of just the odd college experience that he had. So Penny kind of brings some baggage with him. Memphis is an imperfect team. They traditionally under Calipari had a blue chip caliber program. They played for a national championship. However, in recent years, it's kind of been either like boom or bust. And this is like one of those in between years. So Colorado State coming out of the Mountain West. I know Ben's in the chat saying you can never trust the Mountain West. They do have a pretty shaky tournament history, but I think this particular Colorado State team, they cruised through their conference tournament. They're peaking at the right time. They've got a couple guys who I think have an opportunity to play at the next level. So I like them to sneak past Memphis and play Maryland close in the next round. I've got a few more I'm going to save for the bracket, but those are my double-digit darlings.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Man, yeah. Penny Hardaway was one of those guys when he got the Memphis job. I was really rooting for him. Obviously, he has Phoenix Suns ties from his times that he did play for the Suns, which also weren't great. So, unfortunately, I'm not surprised. But Chris, Steven, it's that time. Let's do the damn thing. The outlet point guard is going to be different today. Normally, we break down some clips, tell you what we're seeing on the floor. But it's March, baby. It's time to do the damn thing. We're going to fill out a bracket here together. And for anybody listening, watching back, you can fill it out too. We have the men's bracket mayhem through Valley Sports Plug. The link is in our bio description right now. So make sure you guys are joining in. But we got a specific one for Pass the Outlet here. I'll just throw it over to you guys. Where are we going to start? We're going to start in the South, the East, West, or Midwest. Where do you want to go?
I say let's start in the South. I like to fill my bracket out top down.
Perfect.
I'm with Steven. Yeah, let's do that.
All right. So let's start right off the rip. Number 1, Auburn versus 16 Alabama State, who we did just see have the first buzzer beater winner. Well, technically, I think there was 0.7 left on the clock. But I'm going to lead you guys. I'm going to throw the alley-oop, and then you guys are going to jam at home, okay? So I'm going to give the games. You guys do whatever breakdowns you want, and then I'll pick based off of a consensus on where we all kind of land. So let's start 1 versus 16 in the first one. What are you guys thinking?
So I've got a little something for each game. So I'll
Beautiful.
So, this is exciting. This is an Alabama matchup. Auburn located in Alabama, Alabama State. You've got David Goliath. I was in the car. I did not get a chance to watch the St. Francis Alabama State game, but Alabama State definitely snuck back to take that game. St. Francis was in the lead for quite some time. So I don't think this doesn't really strike me as the third time we're going to see a 16 seed knock off a 1, especially not the consensus overall number 1 seed in the tournament. I think Auburn is just bigger, faster, stronger. They should easily win this one. But I do like Auburn to be the first number 1 to lose.
Ooh, that's spicy. Honestly, though, not unfounded. I know that the Auburn Tigers lost 4 of their last 5 heading into the tournament, but a 16 and a 1, I'm gonna go with the 1 here. It's an easy pick for me.
And has there only been one time that a 16 has upset a number 1 seed? Twice.
Twice.
Okay.
So you have UMBC upsetting Virginia years ago, and then Fairleigh Dickinson recently upsetting Purdue. So it's I'm just going to say this. We won't take this long on each game, but with the transfer portal, and you've just seen a lot more parity, and you've seen guys, these smaller schools now have a chance, much more of a fighting chance, because guys are coming and going from programs so much easier. So I do think it's something that we're going to see from now on. It's like it's part of filling out your bracket, but it's like one of those, you'll hear the story about the grandma in like rural Appalachia who actually picked it. That I've accepted. I'm never going to have the balls to actually take a 16 over a 1. It's too math is just too decisive that the number 1s typically win this game by a significant margin.
Yep, me neither. And it's not starting today. So we got Auburn taking the first one. Then we got the 8 matchup, Louisville versus 9 Creighton. Guys, what are we thinking here?
So these are always fun because they're close. And this is really going to be the first, whoever wins this one, this will be the first test for Auburn. This Creighton team, they beat my Jayhawks, I believe at Lawrence. So which Kansas rarely before this season would rarely lose at home. So Greg McDermott, Doug McDermott's dad, Doug's been in the league. He's an NBA journeyman. Creighton is typically a team that, they know how to shoot, and he rolls out a team of shooters each year. I like Creighton to pull off, 9/8, real crazy upset here, but I like Creighton to play solid behind their 7-footer Kalkbrenner, who is one of the, I think, best players in this tournament.
Ooh, interesting. Okay, yeah, Creighton for sure is always one of those like teams that can make a run and have upsets. The 8 or 9 seed games, I feel like are always a bit of a toss-up. I'm going to disagree, though. I'm going to go Louisville here. They have a very impressive conference record going 8-2 in the ACC, which is a really tough basketball conference. And they've been hot, winning 21 of their last 23. I mean, for that alone, I got to go with the hot hand. So that's why it's Louisville for me. So, Mike, you have to be the tiebreaker here.
See, now this is going to be tough because I feel like Steven has a good breakdown for everything. He's worked through all the way to the championship game. So more often than not, Chris, I'm not saying I don't agree with you. I'm just saying I don't have a dog in the fight. So we're going to go with Creighton on this one to keep the conversation rolling. But we're going to go on to the next one. Number 5, Michigan versus number 12, UC San Diego. Steven, you already kind of touched on your possible thoughts on this, but what are you thinking?
Spoiled this one, yeah, so I won't belabor it. I like UCSD with kind of our first real upset. I think it's going to be a fun game.
What are you thinking, Chris?
Man, I'm not very familiar with UC San Diego's game. I'll be completely honest. They have a very impressive conference record, 30-4, won their conference. So I'm gonna go Michigan because they're the higher seed, and I don't know. I think there's upset potential there, but I don't know.
All right. You guys
have they played any real competition? They haven't played any team in the top 25.
You guys are going to just keep putting this on me as the tiebreaker here. Well, you know me. I'm a Michigan man. Sorry, Steven. This is the one that'll probably go against you here. I'm going to take Michigan here. And they had a real solid outing in the Big 12 or Big 10 tournament. But let's move on. Number 4, Texas A&M versus 13 Yale.
All right. So We're starting with all my upsets, really. That's kind of why I wanted to start here. I like Yale. So this is a really fun Yale team. Yale won a game in last year's March Madness. So, they brought back some guys that have seen success kind of in this environment before. They've got great shooters, Nick Townsend, John Poulakidis. That's just fun to say. It's going to be fun to cheer for. And they're, just a well-rounded team. This A&M team, they're huge. Ben, you can pull some of Ben's chats in here because he's making good points. But I just don't like this the way this A&M team plays. They shoot terribly. They get a lot of offensive rebounds off their own misses, which is nice. But yeah, they're getting those offensive rebounds because the ball's not going in the hoop. So in my professional opinion, you want the hotter shooting team in this environment, and I think that lends itself nicely to Yale pulling off the upset here.
Mike and I playing tug of war for the comment section there.
I love that was the one that we kept going back and forth on too.
It worked. I mean, he was wrong about Creighton and Louisville, but I don't think he's wrong here. Yale scores points in bunches. They are obviously going to ride the narrative of being a bit of an underdog coming in as a 13 against a 4. I like Yale's chances, at least in this first round. I'm going to go with them.
Beautiful. Let's move it on up. Yale with the upset. This next one, we have number 6 Mississippi versus obviously the winner of the game that's going on right now. Is North Carolina still up by 20? So we can probably pencil them in. So it's looking like number 6 Mississippi versus number 11 North Carolina. What are you guys thinking?
Ole Miss, more like Old Miss, because these guys are old. They roll out. I believe their starting 5 are all seniors. So this is a very experienced team. They come in one of the SEC's 14 teams that was invited to play here. So they've seen top competition all year. They knocked off some of the best teams in the SEC. They've got again a pretty well-rounded attack. They've got shooters, but I especially while we're seeing this live from UNC, people were upset that UNC was gifted an opportunity to even play in this play-in game. They felt like some of the Boise, there was a compelling case to make for Boise State. Boise State, they get shafted in football. They turn around, they get shafted in basketball. So there was a lot of upset. I think West Virginia's governor even weighed in and did threaten to file some kind of lawsuit as a gimmick because he felt like West Virginia got shafted and should have had that spot. So I think UNC is going to come out of this game. They're clearly playing well. They're hungry. They're going to look to prove the doubters wrong. And I like them to win this game and knock off Ole Miss.
Okay. I like the logic. So you're saying, well, because UNC is obviously going to win this game. So you're saying UNC is going to be Ole Miss. I don't know, man. When you go from a first seed in 2024 to barely making the tournament this year, makes me nervous. They lost to Duke 3 times. Now I know Duke is a real powerhouse team, but it just seems like I'm going to go with the experience and the higher seed here. If Mississippi State can play their game, have a higher basketball IQ, I think they'll be able to win this one. No problem. So Mike, it's on you, man.
It's on me. We need some more upsets in this one. I'm going UNC, moving on. And we're going to move on. Number 3, Iowa State versus 14 Lipscomb.
Yeah, so Iowa State going into March, probably about a month ago, if you had asked me, I would have said Iowa State was my pick to win it all, my dark horse team. I watched a lot of their games with them being in the Big 12. They're a fun team. They're a chaotic team. But as Ben just pointed out in the chat, they lost their veteran leader, their senior guard, to injury. He will not be playing. I think that just terrible timing for a team that really relied on his playmaking. So I think that pretty much, unfortunately ends their season right there. I do think that there's enough talent for them to hold on and beat this fun, plucky Lipscomb team. but I don't like their chances once they actually start to see bigger competition. I do also have to shout out to Sam and Libby Oliver, who are alumni, Ben's wife's parents or mom and brother. So there are some family ties there. I know in Dallas they are going to be cheering loud for the Lipscomb. I don't even know the Lipscomb. Let me see if I can.
Is it Bison?
Is it Bison?
I don't know.
Yes, yeah, Lipscomb Bison. Yeah, so yeah, it would be fun. I think Iowa State is vulnerable, so this could very well be a big upset. But yeah, give me the Cyclones here.
Yeah, my thoughts are pretty short on this. Lipscomb's only in the tournament because they won their conference, which is not a major conference. Iowa State, yeah, they might be down their star, but I think they're still going to have enough firepower to win this round. So give me Iowa State.
Easy decision. I love when you guys do that for me. So let's move on. Number 7, Marquette versus 10, New Mexico.
So New Mexico, the player of the year in the Mountain West Conference, their point guard Dent. He's one of those guys that, like he can get 30 on any given night. He's that. And I actually stole that from Joe Lunardi. He is that good. This is a team so New Mexico, perennial tournament team, but has not been able to find success. They're typically bounced pretty early. I'm seeing here they haven't been to a Sweet 16 since 1974. So it has been a long drought, and they've been in plenty of tournaments since then. Fun kind of family tie here is that New Mexico's coach is the son of Rick Pitino. So it's Richard Pitino, whose St. John's team is further down in this bracket. So you're going to have a potential for a father-son Final Four. But I don't think that's happening. This Marquette team burned me last year. I had them winning it all. That obviously did not happen. They've got Shaka Smart, a former coach of VCU, who had made a Cinderella run in years past. He was at Texas for a little while before he moved over to Marquette. So good Marquette, well-coached team. And I think Cam Jones, Marquette star, is going to become a household name this year in the tournament. He has been having a lights-out year for the Big East and probably played his way into being a lottery pick in the draft. So give me Marquette here.
Oof, this one has me a little bit torn. And Steven, you already laid out the whole case. I just think it's always interesting when you have a really good defensive team going up against a really good offensive team. And it just comes down to who can live up to the moment of the tournament, who's not going to let it get to them. I'm going to make Mike make the decision here. I'm going to say New Mexico.
Thanks a lot, Christopher. Hey, whenever Shaka Smart's involved, I'm going to go with whoever he's got. So yes, I'm going with Marquette. So we'll move them on. And then the last game of the South bracket, number 2, Michigan State versus 15, Bryant.
So yeah, Michigan State, the Spartans, coached by the legendary Tom Izzo. He's won a national championship before. His teams always are ready for this tournament. I mean, he brings teams that sometimes don't necessarily have national title hopes or don't fit the mold of a national title contender, and they make deep runs because he knows how to get them ready for this environment. So I'll keep it short and sweet. I think Izzo continues to roll. I actually like Michigan State here to make a run after this game.
Yeah, I'm very high on Michigan State. They have an average win margin of over 10 points. They went 8-2 against the top 25 this season, first in their conference. Give me Michigan State real easy.
Beautiful. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, we're just moving over to the East. Start with the first game, number 1 Duke versus, what is that? The winner of, or what is
American and Mount St. Mary's. So
shout out. That's one school?
Yeah, well, no. American tomorrow will be playing Mount St. Mary's in the other play-in game.
There we go.
American University. I work with a bunch of American University alums at the ad agency that I work at out in DC. American, located in DC. A lot of people stick around and continue to work in DC. It's a very politically minded school. I did not know that they had a college basketball team until recently. So I wish them the best. I hope they have a lot of fun tomorrow. I think whoever wins that play-in game is going to get absolutely shredded by one of the more stacked Duke teams that we've seen in quite some time.
This is the first time I'm hearing of an America University. You'll never guess what their school colors are.
Red, white, and blue, baby.
You got it.
Wait, hey, so is Kansas.
That's true. I'm looking at the jersey Stevens wearing. But no, yeah, easy for me. Give me Duke. Let's keep it rolling.
Yes, sir. All right, on to the next. Number 8, Mississippi State versus number 9, Baylor, another Big 12 school. What are we thinking, guys?
Yeah, so Mississippi State, good defensively, but I'm going to show my Big 12 bias here. I saw quite a few games from the Baylor Bears, and I'm going to give them the nod here. I think this game could go either way. It's kind of a coin flip for me, but yeah, give me Baylor.
Yeah. Oh man, Baylor just had a tough season. Like nearly every starter they had suffered injuries. Really scrappy team. Like I said, on the other side, the 8 and 9s are always a toss up. I'm gonna agree with Steven this time though. Give me Baylor.
Beautiful. Big 12 moving on, and we're moving on. Number 5, Oregon versus 12, Liberty.
So I told you guys, the legend of the 5-12. Like you're gonna have to pick one in this bracket. Like, and it's, I don't know if this is the one, but this is a popular upset pick. Liberty Flames are a hot team. I saw some kind of crazy stat that like if you don't score 70 points against them, you will lose. They are undefeated when holding opponents to less than 70 points. I have a good friend, Andrew Bryant, who will be attending this game. It is in Seattle. Oregon is very close to Seattle and will have a lot of alums there. So give me a rowdy, practically home game for Oregon. But I do think Liberty is going to play them close.
Liberty Bibberty. Yeah, I mean, I have a soft spot for former Pac-12 schools. The proximity of where their game is being played to where the school is located makes me want to lean towards Oregon. But man, like it seems like Liberty plays some real solid defense, but they don't have any experience this season against teams in the top 25. I think for that reason, I'm going to pick Oregon in this one.
And the ex-Pac-12 team moves on. Another ex-Pac-12 team. And right in our backyard, number 4, Arizona versus 13, Akron. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this one.
Yeah, fresh off an appearance and in the Big 12 championship game in their first year there. I got to give it up. I do not give compliments very often to the team from down south, but they had a good year. I love their coach. U of A, fun. Here's a little fun thing about U of A's coach. Tommy Lloyd, longtime assistant at Gonzaga, really wrote the book on how to recruit big Eastern European players. Like, it's just, you look at Gonzaga over the years, like they were a safe haven for guys that that came over and had found a lot of success. The guys who are still in the league right now. Sabonis was a Gonzaga guy that was recruited by Lloyd. So he came to U of A with high expectations. He absolutely brought his bag of tricks. They've got a stout center from Estonia, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name. But this is just they've also got a veteran leader in Caleb Love that who UNC transfer came to Tucson. Wildcat fans have a love-hate relationship with him. There are games where he will absolutely play lights out and looks like one of the best players in the country. And there are games where he will go completely cold and shoot them out of the game. He did have a very exciting buzzer beater this year. So he has the capability of being that guy that you want to have the ball in his hands. So I do like Arizona, to make a little bit of a run here. People like the Akron Zips. This is a fun Akron team. They absolutely deserve to be in this in the tournament, and I think that they could give U of A some trouble. But no, give me the Cats here.
Yeah, I agree. I think this game could be closer than a lot of people think a 13-4 game would be. At the end of the day, though, I think Arizona has the most talent, the better coaching. And as much as it pains me to say this, I think it's going to be the Arizona Wildcats.
I mean, U of A did not have the best season in the Big 12 this year, but that run to the Big 12 championship game, I think, gave them a lot of confidence. This is really the only thing that I will say for any of these games, guys. So all three of us are aligned for this one. We're going number 4, Arizona. But let's move on. Another Big 12 team, BYU, number 6 versus 11, VCU.
So yeah, these Cougars can shoot. Oh, Ellie agrees. At BYU, this is a team. They got hot at the right time. They're coming into March. They are absolutely, they're an offensive. This game is a offensive versus defensive matchup. Like the committee absolutely knew what they were doing when they booked this. VCU, they're going to play. They call their defense chaos for a reason. Like they're absolutely going to wear down and try and get BYU to miss shots, take bad shots. I think BYU is just a team of shooters. They're a pretty balanced team. I love, Kevin Young. I was really hoping that he almost became the coach of the Suns. Like he absolutely was in the conversation. He was interviewing for NBA jobs and decided to take this one instead. So I like BYU to not only win this one, I like BYU to win a couple games in this year's bracket.
Ooh, okay. The BYU, what's their mascot? Are they the Bears? Cougars.
Cougs. Yeah,
Cougs, that's right. Man, yeah, they did really get smoked by Houston in the Big 12 tournament. Lost by I think 20 points, but can't base it all off one game. I know VCU is gonna be scrappy. They're gonna come out again with that kind of underdog mentality. But at least for this game, I think I'll take BYU. Keep things pushing.
Oh, wait, so it's split again. I got to make the decision.
No, I think we're in agreement.
Steve said BYU.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, good. I thought you said VCU. I mean, they both ended kind of similar. VCU, BYU, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right, BYU is moving on here. Next up, we got number 3, Wisconsin versus number 14, Montana.
Yeah, so this Wisconsin team, runner-up in the Big 12 tournament, they lost to Michigan in kind of a rock fight of a game. I also think fatigue is a factor here. I really like the story of Wisconsin's star, though. I mean, this is a kid. He was at Colorado State. He transferred to Missouri, had a nightmare of a year, averaged like 2.5 points. Was fighting injury, came to Wisconsin, and has blossomed into one of the best players in the country this year. So he's got star power, and I think that's what carries them over this kind of mediocre Montana team.
Yeah, I know Montana has been scrappy in the past, especially in the tournament. But I'm not going to overanalyze this. A little personal tidbit. Growing up, my coach that I played many seasons with went to Wisconsin. I don't know if he played for Wisconsin basketball-wise, but he was a big Wisconsin fan, tailored our style of play after the Wisconsin team, made us watch Wisconsin play a lot. So just for that alone and the personal ties, I'm going to pick Wisconsin here.
Beautiful. Wisconsin moves on, and we are moving on. Number 7, St. Mary's versus number 10, Vanderbilt.
So yeah, remember when I said that teams roll out the gimmicks in March? St. Mary's is one of those gimmick teams. So they kind of remind me of Virginia, Tony Bennett's Virginia teams. They play slow, they hold the ball, they control the ball, and they really force you to kind of stoop to their level. This is not going to be a fun game. This Vandy team, they knocked off some good, they're one of the many SEC teams in this tournament. They played against really, really good competition and won a few of those. So this will be a popular pick. I see a lot of people taking Vandy, but I think St. Mary's, I think the gimmick works in this case. And I think they're able to slow down. Do not tune into this game. I do not think it will be fun to watch, but I do think that the Gales, I believe, will win this one.
The Gales, is that Vanderbilt?
No, that's St.
St.
Mary's.
Mary's.
St. Mary's, okay.
Commodores or the Commies.
The Commies. Okay, gotcha. So I'm going to just follow Ben's logic here. He says St. Mary's lost to ASU, but beat the Zags twice. And for that reason, Vandy. So let's do it. Mike, that means you got to decide.
All right. You guys know me. I love me an underdog, even if it's just through seeding. So we'll go number 10 on this one. And that leads us to the last game in the East. Number 2, Alabama versus number 15, Robert Morris.
So yeah, Bama made their first ever basketball Final Four last year under Coach Nate Oates. So it's annoying to see. It kills me inside a little bit when these teams with strong football programs then find basketball success. Like we're 0-2 at ASU, and we don't have either. But you get Alabama that's just being showered with riches with having 2 successful programs. This Bama team is good. They brought back a lot of those guys that made the Final Four run last year, and I think they shouldn't have a problem here with this Robert Morris team. I don't know how long of a run they're going to make, but I'll get to that when we do the next matchup.
Yeah, Alabama averaged 91 points per game. So they score a lot. I think, obviously, 2 versus 15, easy pick for me. Let's do Alabama.
Beautiful. Easy peasy. All right, we're going to move down to the other part of the bracket. Let's start over in the West. How about that? Let's go number 1, Florida versus 16, Norfolk State. How we feel?
So yeah, Florida. It was actually, there was a little bit of a debate on Sunday if Florida should be the number 1 overall, because technically they won the SEC tournament. This is the team, classic case of they're playing their best basketball at the absolute best time. I think this is, if I had to pick a 16 seed that could potentially knock someone off before I saw the bracket, I would have said Norfolk State is probably it. This is a program that shows up and makes a lot of tournaments. They typically win their conference. But this Florida team, they trot out 2 guys. I don't think they're both 7-footers. I think one's 7 foot, one's like 6'10" or 6'11". He's right there. But they've got a Twin Towers thing going on. They wear you down. They force you to play their style. They're going to be the bigger team playing a lot of these smaller schools. I think they could win this game by 40.
Yeah, I have no doubt it's going to be Florida. I mean, they didn't lose any games during non-conference play, only lost 4 the entire season, 8-2 against top 25 teams. I mean, I could read these stats all day, but the fact of the matter is this is not the game where a 16 is going to beat a 1. So I'm going Florida.
Easy peasy. Florida moves on, and that puts us at the 8 versus 9, Connecticut versus Oklahoma.
So yeah, our back-to-back reigning champ, UConn Huskies, getting a little bit of disrespect here with dropping to an 8 seed. This coached by Dan Hurley, brother of Bobby. It's going to be a well-coached team. They have been snake bit all year. Like the Maui Invitational, really kind of the start of the college basketball season. It's a lot of teams' first chance to play real non-conference talent. They got smoked. They lost like back-to-back games in Maui. It was a cursed tournament, little mini tournament for them. They immediately dropped out of the national rankings and kind of had to claw their way back. They brought back, they lost when you win back-to-back national championships. Like obviously, you're going to lose some guys to the league. Like they're going to go play at the next level. There's nothing left for them to do. So they had a little bit of turnover. They do have some of those guys that got them there and helped them win it all. But it is, it's a new core. I think that this has kind of just been a rough year. I think the hangover is very real for UConn. Love Dan Hurley. Love, the fact that we got to see a back-to-back winner. It's pretty rare in college basketball nowadays. But yeah, give me a plucky Oklahoma team to kind of have a mercy finish to UConn's season.
Wow, so 8-9 matchup again. Back-to-back national titles for Connecticut. Looking to three-peat. Oh, man, that's tough. I mean, 4 of the last season's top 5 scorers are gone, but offense still ranks 14th nationally in efficiency. I don't know, man. I think Oklahoma had a really good season, but I'm going to go with UConn. I just can't bet against UConn this early in the tournament.
Yep. Back to back. I'll make the split here. We're going to go with the previous national champions, UConn Huskies. And we're on to number 5, Memphis versus 12, Colorado State. Is this the one?
I gave this one away. Yeah, I like Colorado State here after beating Boise State and killing their chance of making this tournament. Because Boise State did not win the conference, you do not see them. So yeah, give me this Colorado State. Go Rams.
Oh, man, I do love me some Penny Hardaway. I do have a Penny Hardaway Suns jersey still in my possession. You know, Steven, he's almost convinced me, but I just want Mike to make a pick, so I'll pick Memphis here.
Yeah, we're going with Colorado State. Chris, did I give you that Penny Hardaway jersey by chance?
I don't think so. I think I had it before we met. I think you did give me
did.
You did give me a jersey. You did give me a Suns jersey. I just can't remember which one.
Either way, God bless the dead at this point. Penny Hardaway and Memphis, they're done. We're going with Colorado State on this one, which takes us to our next matchup, number 4, Maryland versus Phoenix's own Grand Canyon.
Yeah, the Lopes. This is I think their second or third time making the tourney. So they've got a fun thing going. Mike, I think we were both at the ASU GCU game earlier this season that they played. It's kind of a budding rivalry, and I'm here for it. Like I'm all. That's one of the best parts of college ball is that you get these really fun, rowdy student run rivalries. But GCU, I mean, I hate to say it, but they're kind of a gimmicky school too. They've got their like choreographed dances that they're doing. It's apparently, I've not been to a game there yet, but I hear that it is a very rowdy environment to watch a game. So I'm excited to go make my way over there to the west side to catch a game here next season. But this Maryland team, this is a well-constructed Maryland team. Fun fact, features the brother of Angel Reese on the roster. And then they've got a star freshman stud in Patrick Queen. It is going to take a good team to knock them off. And I think that Maryland here is unfortunately going to crush the Lopes.
Man, Steven, going against the hometown team. I mean, to make a case for Grand Canyon on the smallest scale, this is the third consecutive year of them making the tournament. And they're bringing 4 starters from last year's team that upset St. Mary's in the first round. I think more than anything, though, I just have to be the homer here. I'm gonna pick Grand Canyon in this one.
Too many splits here. This one's easy for me. I don't really have faith in Grand Canyon here at all, Chris. I'm sorry, and I'm not going to be a homer this time. But I will say, Steven, you did say it. If you haven't checked out a GCU basketball game yet, make sure you get out there. It is a lot of fun. I think one of the first games that I ever went to was during the Dan Marley coached era, but I don't think it's changed that much. But sorry, Chris, we're going with Maryland on this one. And moving on, we got number 6, Missouri versus 11, Drake.
So Drake, this game is probably when you look at like the national bracket of like most popular upset picks, this Drake team is probably going to be most people's pick over yet another kind of middling SEC team in Mizzou. Before Mizzou decamped for the SEC, Missouri, Kansas, huge rivalry. They print shirts I don't know if they still sell them on campus, but Muck Fizzu is the saying on campus at KU. So a lot of bad blood there. This Drake team, again, you're going to hear this a few more times, but gimmicky, very, very gimmicky. You're going to have a team that if they go up on Mizzou early, they play a style that allows them to hold on to a lead through the game. And so I can see why people are picking them over this Mizzou team. Mizzou team absolutely had a season from hell last year. I don't think they won a single game in the SEC. So they did bounce back and have a much better year. I'll give me the sexy pick. I'll take Drake. I want to see chaos. So give me Drake over Mizzou.
I love it. I wasn't sure where you were going with that for a second, but you surprised me there at the end. I mean, Drake just had a tough year the past 12 months or so. I mean, Kendrick Lamar came out with that diss track. It's just he's been having a tough time. He had the bullet hole. I'm only kidding. I'm sorry. I don't know, man. I like the underdog here. 30-3 overall record this year. They only averaged allowing 58 points per game. So they clearly play some hard-nosed defense. Admittedly, I wasn't able to catch a Drake game this year, but I also like an upset, and we'll give Mike a break from picking the tiebreaker here. So let's go Drake.
Beautiful. Appreciate you guys. We must be getting older because the jokes are getting kind of crazy. But anyways, let's move Drake on. We're going number 3, Texas Tech versus 14 NC Wilmington.
So yeah, not a lot of intrigue here. This Texas Tech team is good, and if you talk to Colin Miller, the youngest Miller brother, he actually has Tech winning it all. So I'm gonna have to. I don't necessarily agree with him on taking them that far, but no, this UNC Wilmington team doesn't have the DNA of an upset pick. They don't shoot well enough from 3 here, I think, to be able to shoot over a bigger, faster, stronger opponent. So yeah, give me Tech here to roll this UNC Wilmington team.
Yeah, for the sake of time, we'll keep it short. Texas Tech, baby.
Beautiful. Here we go. And here it is. Number 7, Kansas versus number 10, Arkansas. Steven, how we feeling?
So yeah, a few things. Okay. Obviously, I'm taking the Jayhawks in this game. This is a coach matchup that previously played for the 2008 national championship. John Calipari, I mentioned, got ran out of Lexington, left Kentucky. He is now in Arkansas. So you're going to have 2 Hall of Fame coaches on the sidelines. CBS will not let us live that down. They're going to talk all about that, all leading up to this game, during this game. It's KU. I mean, this has been a really, really down year for KU. So there are a lot of people personally who are letting me know, especially in the chat right now, that they are picking against Kansas in this game. This Arkansas team, they got in on SEC bias. That I do not think that this is a great Arkansas team by any means. But I like my Jayhawks to at least get one. Just give me one win this year. And please let it be against Cal. I hate Coach Cal. Come on, KU.
Oh man, this is an intriguing matchup. I love me a good storyline. I also love playing the contrarian when I can. So I'll pick Arkansas here and see what Michael Benjamin has to say.
Oh, you got to do it to me. No, obviously, since Steven is our guest, we're going to give him some good juju. How about that? We'll pick Kansas to win in the first round. And that leaves us with the last game in the West. Number 2, St. John's versus number 15, Nebraska Omaha.
So yeah, we'll keep this again short. I know we're making this a little bit longer than I think we all expected. St. John's is my team to win it all. I love this team. They have played some really great basketball here later in the year. So give me St. John's, and unfortunately, they're going to have to roll through my Jayhawks as they make it out of this West bracket.
Ooh, spoiler alert for the round of 32 there. I've heard nothing but good things about St. John's. We did talk about them briefly on the roundtable last week. Matt Tallman was also singing their praises. So I'll pick St. John's here. Pretty easy, 2 over 15.
Beautiful. All right, and let's move over to our last of the 64 in the Midwest. Number 1, Houston versus, what is that, SIU Edwardsville?
Sui, yeah. Southern Illinois University of Edwardsville, I believe. Now, this Houston team is a business trip for them this year. They are absolutely here to play for and potentially win a national title. I believe they are my wife's pick to win it all as well. The Cougars, they've been close. They've been in striking distance these past few years. They've got an absolute stud of a coach in Kelvin Sampson, who is, I think, real hungry. He needs that national championship to cap off an illustrious career. Give me the Cougars here. This is another one that I think, you could see a very lopsided game. against I don't even know what the Edwardsville mascot is.
They are also the Cougars, Steven.
Okay, I should just assume, yeah.
Yeah, no, Cougars versus Cougars here. Young Gravy would be so happy, but no, I'm going to go with Houston.
Houston.
Yeah.
Easy. Houston, easy pick. All right, I like this matchup. Number 8, Gonzaga versus number 9, Georgia.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to give the nod here to Ben in the chat for the digging up that stat. Yeah, the Zags have been to 9 straight Sweet 16s. I think the streak continues here. This is not necessarily as good of a Gonzaga team as we've seen in years past, but they've been there before. The coach has been there many times and knows what it takes to make it out of this first weekend. So give me them over yet another meh SEC team in Georgia.
Yeah, man. When I think of March Madness and the tournament, I think of Gonzaga. When I was younger, the whole Adam Morrison Cinderella story, I love it. And that stat Ben pulled up is impressive as well. So for that, definitely going to go with Gonzaga here. The easiest 8-9 pick of the day.
There you go. Ben said, "Take that for data," and Gonzaga moves on. See, I got to jump in with the bad jokes, guys, too. Don't worry about it. But we're moving on. Number 5, Clemson versus 12, McNeese.
So I went a little crazy this year and took a couple 12s over 5s, and this is one of them. So McNeese, this is going to be – they were a really popular pick last year, and they're going to be another really popular pick this year. So McNeese actually has a coach in Will Wade who had found a lot of success at LSU, had to leave LSU because of some sketchiness around the recruiting of a certain player by the name of Ben Simmons, who was a one and done at the school. And again, you're seeing a theme here. He kind of, that sketchiness kind of followed him, and he ended up having what's been kind of a weird pro career. So, you can, sometimes those college narratives live on. But yeah, I think Will Wade, he'll definitely have a team of motivated guys looking to knock off a Power 5 school. And I think McNeese, I actually like them to not win this game, but also the game after.
Ooh, okay. Man, I mean, I admittedly don't know a whole lot about either of these teams, but Clemson did finish 3rd in the ACC, which is a very tough basketball conference. Went 18-2 in conference play. So I'm going to go with the higher seed here. I'm going to pick Clemson. What you got, Mike?
We're just going to have 112 move on in this time. So we're going to go Clemson, number 5. Sorry, Steven, you might have to get creative next round. But let's move on to the next game. Number 4, Purdue versus 13, High Point.
So Purdue, as I mentioned, shocked by Fairleigh Dickinson. They're, I think, still, they definitely came back and redeemed themselves, but I like this high point. I think the scars are still there. I think Purdue is vulnerable, and this High Point team, they kind of a fun fact, in the Big South title that they were playing in, they went down by 15, put all subs in, and the subs clawed them back into that game with a really stout defense. So like that kind of adversity, that's the kind of stuff that that's all I want from a potential Cinderella. I want a team that shows that kind of grit and that can turn around and and win a game that they probably shouldn't have had any business being in. So give me High Point here.
Ooh, the scrappy High Point team. I mean, with Purdue, I always am hesitant to go with schools that kind of stumble into the tournament. They lost 5 of its last 7 and kind of finished in the middle of the pack in their conference. So I like the upset here. Yeah, let's go with High Point. Why not?
Beautiful. 13/4, High Point. Love to see it. And in this one, we got number 6, Illinois versus the winner of, Texas versus Xavier?
Yeah, so Texas and Xavier, both bubble teams that were kind of gifted the opportunity to play into this game. I think this Illinois team, I love their coach, Brad Underwood. They have seen some success in recent years, like the Zags. They have a hard time getting to the Final Four, but they get pretty dang close each year. So give me the nod to Illinois in this one.
Yeah, I know Illinois. I've heard that they do play pretty inconsistently. They're either really hot or they're really cold. But against an 11 seed in the play-in, not really knowing who it's going to be against, I'll take Illinois. We can keep it pushing.
Shout out our guy, Greg Bauslog, probably going to be one of our next special guests on Pass the Outlet. So go Illini. They're moving on, and we're moving on to number 3, Kentucky versus 14, Troy.
The Troy Trojans. So this is a team, and you tend to see this from time to time. This is definitely a mid-major team, but they played elite teams throughout the year. They were kind of one of those like early season, teams that you typically expect. You almost assume that the big schools are going to blow out. They get paid to travel and play at these schools. They played Arkansas, Oregon, and Houston this year. So really, 3 tournament teams. But in those games, they coughed up the ball a ton. They have a hard time taking care of the ball. You cannot lose the turnover battle if you are going to try and knock off a team. I don't see them changing that anytime soon. So give me Kentucky here.
Yeah, Kentucky is just one of those perennial powerhouses. While we're doing shout out my boy Andrew, huge Kentucky Wildcats fan. So in his honor, I will pick Kentucky here to win against Troy.
The Blue Bloods move on, and we're on to the next, number 7, UCLA, another former Pac-12 school, versus 10, Utah State.
Yeah, so Utah State here is going to be another trendy pick, just because of they have in the past played teams really close in this round. They make the tournament, but as Ben pointed out, they have a hard time. The Mountain West does not have a great track record at making Cinderella runs. So I don't really love this UCLA team. I think they kind of were given a nod because of that brand equity that they have, because they have the tradition of Wooden and years and years of dominant tournament success. I don't really see them doing much this year. So I'm going to give the nod. I'm going Mountain West this year. Give me Utah State with the upset.
Okay. All right. I think it's going to be close. I could go either way on this one. UCLA, obviously, like you say, does come with the brand recognition. They are known to be a good basketball school in general. But I don't want to discredit them too much. They have some impressive wins on their resume this season. They beat Oregon, Arizona, and Gonzaga. I don't know. Again, I think it'll be close, but I just love to make Mike break the tie here. So I'll go with UCLA.
Appreciate you guys. And just because Ben hates the Mountain West so much, we're going to go with Utah State on this one. How about that? And that leads us to the final game in the round of 64, number 2 Tennessee versus 15 Wofford.
So yeah, I know I've dragged the SEC quite a bit, and implied that not all 14 teams should have made it, but this Tennessee team absolutely deserves to be where they are. Could have actually, you could have made an argument for them at being a number 1 at one point this season. So the Wofford Terriers, this is a team, they're going to shoot a ton of threes. They have a lot of guys who have Cinderella potential and will actually get plucked and transfer to bigger programs because this school just knows how to train shooters. But this Tennessee team is too good. Give me Tennessee surviving the Terriers.
Yeah, Wofford's another one of those teams that I feel like kind of sneaks in from time to time, but them even being in the tournament is kind of a Cinderella story in itself. They finished 6th, I think, in their regular season, but ran the table in the conference tournament to get that automatic bid. So some people might say that Wofford doesn't even really deserve to be in the tournament if you base it off their regular season. But going against a big powerhouse like Tennessee, I can't pick against them. So yeah, let's give me Tennessee.
All right, and that is our final choice in the round of 64. Gentlemen, let's move on up to the top. I'm sure we'll start kind of flying through these things as we move forward, but let's start with the first matchup in the South, Auburn versus Creighton.
So I teased it earlier. Auburn, I think, is the first number 1 to go down. This is typically where we see, if a one's going to lose, it is in the winner of this 8-9 game. This is the first time they kind of are going to see real adversity. And so this is a rare case where Ben and I agree, and we like Auburn to lose this game. Give me Creighton.
This is tough for me. I picked Louisville to beat Creighton, but we're going off past the outlet bracket. I trust what Steven's saying. He's our expert here. So yeah, give me Creighton.
Our college basketball expert. Creighton it is. On to the next. Michigan versus Yale.
So yeah, I took UCSD here. So I like this to be, a real chaotic game at the 12 and the 13. I actually because I expect Yale to be playing UCSD and we're going to see a double-digit team come out of this one. I'm going to give the nod to Yale.
Hey, fair. And I'm gonna play to Mike's heartstrings again, and I'm going Michigan. What do you say, Mike?
Let's do it. Go blue, baby. Michigan. I don't care if they're tired, Steven. Let's go. Michigan's moving on.
Give the boys a break. Come on. They're running on fumes at this point.
There might be some ACL.
They're young. They can take it. They're young.
All right. In this one, we got pretty sure UNC, if the game's not already over, it must be getting close. UNC versus Iowa State.
Yeah, as I mentioned, that Iowa State losing that senior guard, one of their best players, if not their best. I think it's just terrible timing. I feel for that team and the fan base. Awful timing. But yeah, give me UNC to pull off the upset here.
Yeah, I barely wanted to pick Iowa State. If they were playing anyone but Lipscomb, I probably would have picked the other team. I think I picked Mississippi State here, so this is tough for me. Again, I'll defer to our expert that's in the room here, and we'll go UNC.
UNC it is, and the last matchup in the South: 7 Marquette versus 2 Michigan State.
Death, taxes, Tom Izzo, and March. Like that's it. Give me Michigan State here, my Final Four team in this region.
Yeah, I love Michigan State in this tournament. So yeah, definitely. Let's keep it rolling.
Yep, makes a whole lot of sense to me too. All right, let's move over to the East. Number 1 Duke versus number 9 Baylor.
Yep. Nothing crazy here. I think this is where we see Cooper Flagg play. And so I'm going to give Duke the nod here. They will have the best few players on the floor. And I think people will get there. If you haven't been following college basketball, this is your chance to tune into the Cooper Flagg show.
Yeah, and Duke did play pretty well, even without Cooper Flagg. But I am assuming he's going to be back by this game. So I'm also going to pick Duke here. I almost said I'm going to pick Cooper Flagg here. Might as well say that.
Yeah, let's pick Cooper Flagg. I'm fine with that. Duke's moving on. And here it is, Oregon versus Arizona.
Yeah, it's like the Pac-12 never died. Give me the Wildcats here. I do think that this is a good Oregon team. They could scare U of A, but I think this is a good year for U of A. I think they'll move past Oregon here.
Oof. I'm torn, and I'm also curious what the U of A alum has to say, so I'll pick Oregon.
Guys, you know what matchup we want. We want Duke versus Arizona. I think Caleb Love, this might be kind of his last hurrah. Obviously, he is a senior. I think he'll show out in this game. And then we'll see what happens in the Sweet 16. But let's move Arizona on. And we'll move on to number 6, BYU versus 3, Wisconsin.
Yeah, so I really like this BYU team. I think this Wisconsin, kind of the same thing as Michigan. They played a bunch of games in a bunch of days. And I think they're just going to run out of steam. Give me BYU to shoot the lights out and move on.
Oof. Yeah, I mean, I think that could be the case, but the comps are so close. Both teams averaged 81 points per game on offense, and both teams allowed 70 points per game. So it's basically a wash if you look at the stats of their season. Again, I'm going to go with my personal bias and pick Wisconsin here, not just to make Mike be the tiebreaker.
All right, well, this is an easy tiebreak for me. In Kevin Young, we trust. We're going with BYU. On to the next. Number 10, Vanderbilt versus number 2, Alabama. The last matchup in the East.
So I picked for the matchup that I want in the next game here. Give me Bama, an SEC versus SEC. The committee, I think, tried to avoid this. So this is, I think, one of the only times we could see that happen. Give me Bama. I'm pretty sure they crushed Vandy in the regular season, and I think they will again here.
Yeah, Alabama is playing really good basketball, had a great season. I think this is a no-brainer. Yeah, give me Alabama.
Alabama it is. All right. And now we are back in the West. Start from the top. Number 1, Florida versus the defending champions, Connecticut Huskies.
If Florida and St. John's did not find themselves in the same region, I would have taken both teams potentially to the national championship. Really love the way that this Florida team looked in the SEC tournament. I think they will perform the mercy killing of UConn's rough season.
Yeah, I think it would be hard to go against the powerhouse Florida here. Although Connecticut is looking for a three-peat, they're going to have that. But I don't think it's going to be enough to get them on to the next round over a Florida team. So yeah, let's go Florida here.
Down go the Huskies. Florida moves on, and we're moving on. Number 12, Colorado State versus 4, Maryland.
So yeah, I really like this Colorado State team. I watched a lot of their conference tourney. They really weren't challenged. They've got a potential NBA lottery pick on the team, so they've got talent. I like them to surprise Maryland here. Maryland let Michigan, fly by them to win and knock them out of the Big Ten game or Big Ten tournament. So I think they are vulnerable, and I think Colorado State here pulls off the upset.
I did pick Memphis and Grand Canyon to be playing this game, but since we're doing the Pass the Outlet bracket, I'd love me an underdog story. Let's go with Colorado State.
Ooh, that was probably your first one where you didn't get any of your picks there,
right,
Chris.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. But Colorado State moves on. Number 11, Drake versus 3, Texas Tech.
Yeah, the magic, I think, runs out here for Drake. I think Texas Tech is just too good. Easily could be the team that makes it out of this region. So give me Tech.
Yeah, I'm going to trust the wisdom of the youngest Miller brother here. Really like the 3 over the 11 as well. So let's go Texas Tech for sure.
And JT Toppin is a stud. We're going Texas Tech. And Steven, here it is. Your Kansas Jayhawks versus number 2, St. John's.
Pains me to say this, but I already gave it away. St. John's is my pick to win it all. They're going to have to go through Kansas to do so. So yeah, just like UConn had a mercy killing, please end this Jayhawk season. I love the recruiting class that's coming in. So we'll be back. We don't rebuild, we reload. And I think St. John's is probably going to crush them.
Well, I'm hoping the Suns can pull a Kansas and reload and not rebuild. But we're talking about college basketball, and I'm going to have to agree. I think with Pitino there, St. John's is going to go far. So let's do it.
All right, so we're going with Kansas on the up. No, just kidding. St. John's it is. And we're back over to the Midwest. Number 1, Houston versus 8, Gonzaga. Is the Sweet 16. Do we make it a decade in a row?
No, unfortunately, I think this Houston team is just too good. So I think the Zags are going to have a real hard time. I like Houston to move past.
I'm going to have to agree. Houston is just playing too well right now, regardless of Gonzaga's history. It's easy for me to go with the 1 seed here.
They're on a mission. Houston moves on. Number 5, Clemson versus 13, High Point.
Yeah, so I have McNeese winning this game. So I have no dog in this fight. I'm gonna have to give it up to Chris. Who do you like in this one?
Man, I don't. It's tough, honestly. I know High Point does put in points in bunches. They play pretty solid defense, but don't have any experience against top 25 schools. I think just off that factor being the differentiator, I think Clemson's going to be able to play up to the moment here in the round of 32. So give me Clemson.
All right, Chris, you get it this time. Clemson's moving on. And we got number 6, Illinois versus number 3, Kentucky.
Yeah, this is one that I recently changed. The more I read up on this Illinois team, the more I saw stuff that I liked. So even though Calipari has left, I still have hatred for Kentucky. So I'm going to pick against Kentucky here. Give me the Illini.
All right. I know Illinois is definitely one of those pure basketball schools as well. Kentucky just obviously makes the headlines for having being known for the one and dones and all of that. I don't know, man. I don't know if I can go against Kentucky with how prestigious they are, and I just really don't like Illinois that much. So let me go with Kentucky here.
You just don't want to piss off Book.
Yeah, no, that's exactly. Sometimes you got to throw logic out the window and just go with your heart.
Put the good karma out there. I like that. Chris, I'm going against you this time. Sorry. We're going to take Illini moving on here. And we got number 10, Utah State versus 2, Tennessee to finish out the round of 32.
Yeah, no gimmicks here. Give me Tennessee. They're just too good.
Yeah, I would have had UCLA playing Tennessee here. I don't think UCLA would have won, just like I don't think Utah State's going to win. So Tennessee for sure.
Easy peasy. Tennessee moves on. We're going back up to the South. In the Sweet 16, first matchup, we have Creighton versus Michigan. Uh-oh, Steven.
Yeah, give me Creighton here. I think this is one of they've knocked on the door multiple times. I think this is the year they break through. There's no way Michigan's team has to be exhausted by this point. So give me the Blue Jays.
I don't know. Steven, I know you say Michigan's tired, but their coach, Dusty May, guided FAU to the Final Four just 2 seasons ago and turned around Michigan. So I'm gonna stick with them. Let's go blue.
We rolling blue, baby. Let's go. Michigan moves on. Oh no. Okay. Number 11, we got North Carolina versus number 2, Michigan State.
So you guys, just because you guys did this, I mean, we got to set up the Michigan State rivalry.
Naturally, absolutely.
The Final Four on the line. Like the bracket made itself at this point. Give me the Spartans.
Yeah, it doesn't get any more intriguing than that. I give you Michigan State for sure.
It's what we want. It's what we need. Michigan State moving on to the Elite 8. And we're back over to the East, the matchup that we all hope to get, and probably one of the ones that will be glued to the TV for. Duke versus Arizona. What are you guys thinking?
Yeah, I think this is going to be like the Cooper Flagg show. I really think Duke is just, when he's on, if he is healthy, he's just too good. You're going to see the impact that he can make. So I think this is his chance against the best competition that they will have gotten to up until this point. Give me Duke.
Yeah, I mean, in all my experience filling out brackets and being in work pools and different things like that, people who go chalk tend to do pretty well because the seeding is pretty on point usually, and a 1 seed like Duke is hard to bet against, even against the hometown Arizona team. And Cooper Flagg is just a generational talent, if that term isn't too overly used these days. So yeah, let's take Duke, put them in the Final Four.
I think it was already said.
The Elite 8, excuse me.
I think it was already said, but once again, death, taxes, and U of A losing in the Sweet 16 makes a whole lot of sense. Duke moves on here. And the last game in the East, we have number 6 BYU versus number 2 Alabama.
So yeah, I'm high on this BYU team, and I think they shock a lot of people here. And I do not like Bama to go to consecutive Final Fours here. So give me the Cougs.
Oh, I mean, man, I had chose Wisconsin to be in this game against Alabama. BYU, man, I don't like them. I don't like them. Give me Alabama.
We're going with the Big 12, the Cougars. Let's move them on, as I am the split manager over here, apparently. We're moving on to the West. Number 1, Florida versus number 12, Colorado State. Is this where it ends, Steven?
Yeah, great run, Rams. But no, Florida is an absolute buzzsaw. I think they handily win this game.
I agree. Florida keeps it rolling.
Easy choice. We'll keep it rolling. Number 3, Texas Tech versus number 2, St. John's.
This will be the best game of the entire tournament if it sets up this way. 2, absolutely. I think they're just going to play lights out. It is going to be a blur. Give me St. John's to win this one in a close one.
Yeah, I definitely think that it's going to be close. If I'm not mistaken, St. John's ranked first in defensive efficiency, I believe is the stat I was hearing. I think this is going to be maybe the game of the tournament, kind of like Steven's saying there. So it's a toss-up, honestly, in my eyes. But for the fun of it, let's pick St. John's.
Beautiful. All right, over to the Midwest. Number 1 Houston versus number 5 Clemson.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of surprises in this half of the bracket, so give me Houston. Going all the way actually to the national championship.
Yeah, I mean, as Ben would say, this is Houston's year. So let's give it to him.
Houston it is. And the final matchup in the Sweet 16. Number 6 Illinois versus number 2 Tennessee.
So Joe Lunardi, Joey Buckets, the man who has basically single-handedly hacked the bracketology and knows the ins and outs of how these teams get seeded and how this whole thing comes together. He actually likes Illinois to win this game, but I'm going to go against Joey Buckets here. I think Tennessee is too strong of a team, too well-rounded. Give me Tennessee, so setting up the 1-2.
Yeah, I like it a lot, and I think that the chalk ending there would be, having 1 and 2 on both sides of the bracket here is kind of predictable and a little, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but yeah, give me Tennessee. Let's not bury the lead.
Let's do it. Tennessee moves on, and we're back to the top. First matchup in the Elite 8: Michigan versus Michigan State.
Okay, Chris, these kids are begging. Please put them out of their misery. They cannot keep going. They've got papers to write. They've got tests to take. Michigan is not an easy school to get through. I'm going to have to give it to Sparty here. Let the Wolverines go home, Chris.
You know what, Steven? I think if they're tired now, they're definitely going to be tired by the time they get to this game. And they're going to have to go against the buzzsaw that is Michigan State. And although it is a rivalry, I have no doubt that Michigan State would win this game.
They're going to need respirators on the sidelines at this point. Yes, this one's easy. Michigan State's moving on here. And then the last matchup in the East, Duke versus BYU.
Yeah, so this is nothing crazy here. You got to give the nod to the best player on the court. That is going to be Cooper Flagg for most of these games. I'm going to go with Duke here to make the Final Four.
Yeah, whether it ends up being Duke, Alabama, Duke, BYU, I like Duke to make the Final Four for sure. Let's stick with the Cooper Flagg.
The Blue Bloods move on. We're back down to the West. Number 1 Florida versus number 2 St. John's.
So again, I think this could be this is a total toss-up. I love both of these teams. They're both peaking at the right time. This could be another really close game. St. John's is not going to have an easy march through this region by any means, but give me St. John's to surprisingly knock off Florida here.
Ooh, I like it. I mean, you're right. This is a total, you could flip a coin and make your decision based off that. I just think Florida has a slightly more potent offense than St. John's does. Both teams are great defensively, but again, it's toss up, and let's make Michael pick. I'm going with Florida.
Okay. Well, we know that Ben has chosen Florida. Okay. I can't believe you guys are making me do this. Since Steven's on the show, we're going to give it to St. John's this time. We'll keep his champion rolling into the Final Four.
Fair enough.
The last matchup we got is Houston versus Tennessee.
So yeah, as much as I like this Tennessee team, I think Houston is just too strong. Give me the number 1 seed Cougars to set up a revenge game against Duke.
Yeah, maybe call my opinion here recency biased because I've been able to catch a couple of the recent Houston games that they've played. I really like the brand of basketball they're playing right now, and I think that Duke-Houston game would be incredible. So I'll also take Houston here.
It's what we want. We got Houston moving on here.
You got to give the people what they want.
That's always what we're doing here at Pass the Outlet. And we're in the Final Four, gentlemen. We're going to start with Michigan State versus St. John's.
So yeah, I've given this one away. I've got St. John's winning this game. I think it'll be another tough test. They are earning this championship. They're going to have to go through Izzo, and I think Michigan State gets knocked off here.
Man, oh man. I think this is tough. This is really tough. Although I did pick Florida beating St. John's in the Elite Eight there. So I'm going to stick with Michigan State and have them in the national final.
Whew. Since it's not the Wolverines, I can't pick Michigan State to move on. We're going to roll with St. John's on this one, making the national championship. And then we have Duke versus Houston. What a matchup. What are you guys thinking?
So these teams met in the Sweet 16 last year. It was a great game. Duke knocked them off 54-51. Duke was a 4 seed. Houston was a 1 seed. So I think Houston, they are hoping that the bracket plays out this way. They want revenge, and I think they get it. Give me Houston in the national championship.
Beautiful. I couldn't have said it better myself. I think Houston is going to have a chip on their shoulder, especially if they get to this game. People are going to be talking about Duke like they're a shoo-in to win, and that's going to piss Houston off. So let's put Houston against Michigan State in the national final.
I absolutely love it, gentlemen. And on April 7th, the national championship game, St. John's versus Houston. I mean, we already know where Steven's going, but tell the people why.
So, I mean, Rick Pitino, I think he will go down as, I believe, I could be wrong here, and our resident statistician has left the comments, so he's not here to keep me honest, but Pitino would be the first coach to win a national championship at his 3rd stop, previously having won at Kentucky and at Louisville. So that would, I think the storyline, the narrative, giving CBS something to talk about will be there. Pitino, not without controversy. Like, the man has definitely left a little bit of a trail of destruction from some of the programs that he's moved on from, and that includes the Boston Celtics. If you want to look up a really funny story about how he left that team, but I think the St. John's team, I caught almost all I think of their conference tournament games. They are a well-rounded team. They actually have a former Kansas big man, left KU, is now in his 2nd year at St. John's. He has become their star, Zuby, Big Zoo. I think he had 30 points in their conference final and is just a dominant force. And I see him, really picking up a full head of steam and coming into March playing like one of the best players in the country. So I love the balance of this team. Pitino, he loves to press, probably even when sportsmanship would dictate that it is probably time to lay off. So the man is kind of a troll. I love that. This team plays like they're from Queens. They are a tough out. And I think for that reason, we're going to see them raising the banner this year. Kind of an unconventional pick, St. John's. They're not traditionally, they've had good teams, but really not in the last 20 to 30 years. So it's exciting to see them come back.
It's intriguing. It's a very intriguing storyline. Of course, you have a legendary coach, up and coming program, but it's going to be Houston. Let's be honest. They just play incredible defense, that chip on their shoulder. And like your brother said, this is Houston's year.
Gentlemen, the final split, the final decision that has to be made is left into Mr. Benjamin's hands. This is the one time that I was hoping that you guys were on both sides of the spectrum. Chris Patrick, you my running mate. It seems like I've been going against you most of today, right? Stephen Miller is our special guest. Of course, I'm going to be rolling with most of his picks. But not this one. It is Houston's year. We're going with the Houston Cougars as the national champions in 2025. It's their year. I think they're just absolutely dominant. They're going to have a stellar run. And they're going to shoot the lights out of the basketball here. But it's going to be a great game. It's going to be a great Final Four no matter what.
I can live with that.
Houston,
I can live with that.
Awesome. Well, Steven, dang, man. What an absolute pleasure. You did your homework. You brought the knowledge. Chris did some awesome homework as well today too. Appreciate you guys. Lots of fun filling out the bracket. Make sure you guys go into the description below this video. We have our bracket challenge that you can join in with us. You know, that bracket we just filled out will be on there right now. But guys, we're almost at the 2-hour mark. Normally we do Reddit reacts, but I think it's time for everybody to enjoy the rest of your night. So let's go around the table. We're going to start with Steven first. Steven, any last words for the people tonight, man?
No, thank you again, guys, for having me. My first time on Past the Outlet. It has been an absolute blast. I'll look forward to coming back. Yeah, it's the best time of the year. I'm thrilled. I'm exhausted. I've been on the road all day. I just drove back from LA, but I made sure that I was ready and fired up to join you guys here before I go hit the hay. So thank you guys for having me. Everyone enjoy March. When your team loses and when your bracket is completely busted, and it will happen, just cheer for chaos. That's all I can. If you remember one thing from this 2-hour-long show, cheer for chaos. March always delivers. It's gonna be a blast. I'll be talking to you guys through all the games.
Steven, we always appreciate you, man. And last but not least, my wingman, Chris Patrick.
Man, I cannot wait for Thursday morning. I will be coffee in hand, ready to go. I work from home Thursday and Friday. They always say that during March Madness, productivity at work goes straight down. Nobody's working very hard. Don't tell my boss. I'm going to be working hard, but I'm also going to be watching the games. Man, Steven, love having you on, man. You are a wealth of knowledge. You always bring the great takes, the hot takes, and everything in between. At this point, I think you're a certified Valley Sports Plug contributor, so we might need to get you a plaque or something.
Ooh. Is there a punch card that I should be getting stamped for each appearance?
I mean, keep it up, man, and we might have to give you and your brother your own show on the network. We'll talk behind the scenes.
Ooh. I don't know if we can handle that. That might be too much Miller Brothers.
But you just said you want the chaos. Why not give him the Miller Brother chaos?
It's true.
That's true. Last thing I'll say is I just saw this a couple hours before we went live. On X, formerly known as Twitter, they're doing their own bracket challenge. You can win, I think, $100K. And if you have a perfect bracket, you'll be able to win a trip to Mars. So if you ever wanted to go to Mars, just get a perfect bracket on X and you'll punch your ticket. But Mike, always a pleasure. Love doing this. I can't wait to have this PTO tradition of filling out the bracket.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, it was an absolute pleasure. If you guys are still watching us, we love you. Make sure you like and subscribe. Follow us at AZ_VSP on all socials. Remember, the Phoenix Suns ticket giveaway post is going live on Thursday for the March 30th game. Suns versus Rockets. 2 tickets and a parking pass. We want to give back to y'all. But once again, this was Pass the Outlet, episode 25. I'm your co-host, Michael Benjamin. That's Chris Patrick. That's Stephen Miller. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Ball is life, plain and simple. You know, ask any baller. If you know, you know.
The game has changed, but it's still the same. You want it, go get it.
Shazam!
The inbounds pass comes into Jordan. Here's Michael at the foul line. The shot on Elo. Ah! The Bulls win! They win it!
Mike, you're honestly telling me that he's top 5.
Yeah.
Top 5 of all time.
No question about it.
Booker, this is for the win. Got it. Wow.
The ruling on the floor is made basket.
You know, one thing's for sure. Over at Valley Sports Plug, you're never going to catch us slipping. With the first overall pick, the Phoenix Suns select
3, 2,